What's up, guys? Today I have a '01 Cavalier, and it needs a new starter. And if you guys have ever wondered why they tell you not to accidentally hit your starter when the car is already running, take a listen. Well, that time I got lucky. But basically, the teeth are just destroyed on the starter. It misses so many times, you can hear it. Well, we're going to replace the starter in this thing. First thing you're going to want to do is disconnect your negative battery terminal, because you are going to have to be replacing these wires, and if they touch any of the ground, you're going to get a really big spark. So you can leave the positive on. Make sure you just take off the negative. This is a 8mm bolt, I believe. So next, to get to the bolt, we have to jack up the front of the car. This is a front wheel drive car, so make sure you put something behind the rear tire so the car doesn't move when you jack it up. You can also use your e-brake, although I wouldn't rely on that because people usually don't maintain their e-brake. So always put something behind the wheel. Make sure you're safe. Also, when you're jacking up a car, do not rely on one of these little jacks. These things are not safe. It will jack your car up, but be smart and put a safety jack under the frame, and then you can just, you'll be able to lower it like that, and you can get that right out of the way. And the car will be held up by the jack stand. This is a way safer way to do this. Don't rely on one of these. You'll probably die. Don't want to die. These are cheap. You can get them at Walmart for like 20 or 30 bucks. They come as a set. And they'll save your life. So don't try to save money, because you're gonna... Safety is always an issue when you're working with one of these tiny cars. If it falls, there's no room for you to not get crushed. So I would strongly suggest the safety jacks. Alright, so after you get the car secured on the jack here, there is a piece of plastic. We gotta take that off. There's a bolt here and a bolt here, and it's just a piece of plastic. It covers the opening. So we're going to take those two pieces of plastic, or those two bolts, out first. And then this looks like a maybe a 13mm. And there should be another 13mm somewhere on this side that's holding the thing in. We also have to take the ground off, which is looks like a 10mm. And then you got to take your two power wires off, which I believe are a 13mm. So I'm going to take these out first, and we'll pick up from there. So as you can see from taking the plastic off, our flywheel looks completely fine. No chipped gears. So the gear on the starter is probably completely destroyed, which is fine. It's only about 40 bucks to replace. So this bolt here and this bolt here is what's holding the starter in. And obviously you got to take your wires off. So we're going to get the wires off and get that dropped down. Alright, so this bolt here tiny red wire right here. It actually snapped right off, so don't worry about that. And this was a 13 millimeter and takes off the two big cables. The first bolt here on the other side, hold on a second, it runs through the whole thing. I don't know if we can see or not. Right there, I had to take it out. It's one of these long bolts. That was the ground, and it actually broke the terminal here. So if it does break, don't worry about it. I'm gonna cut this and put a new terminal on it. You can't really tell in the video. I bent it back, but it snapped right here, so it's pretty much useless. So now we're just gonna do take an extension, and then these are also 13 millimeter. You get an extension to about down here, so you can get a full swing. Take those two bolts out, and the starter should come out. Really? I do need to correct myself. The big bolts, these are 15 millimeter, and they come out pretty easy. So you can see I already took that one out. You come to the top and look right here. The bolt, the second 15 millimeter bolt comes all the way through. There's actually a nut on it that you have to take off. It's going to stop it from coming back out. So just throw some WD on it, get that top nut off. Otherwise you're not getting that bolt through the starter. And make sure you take that top nut off, and then it should allow you to take the starter out. Alright, like I said, once you get that bolt out, you can see it goes all the way through. You'll be able to get the starter out. Yeah, so I can't get it fully apart, but if you look inside here, it's got the one gear. This just spins, and it's got 3 planetary gears that spin as well. But if you take the thing, it's not catching at all, and it should, see, it just caught right there. It caught. That's what it's supposed to do, and then come out, but it's just missing. So I can't pull this part out, I guess, unless you take this retainer off, and it's just too much work. But yeah, there's a worm gear in here that probably stripped. So if you break the ground wire the way I did, actually the loop fell right off. They sell these things here at AutoZone. They're new terminals. Basically all you're going to do, what I'm going to do, I'm going to cut it and put a new terminal on it, and we'll be good as new. Alright, so I got the new starter, and I took out the bolt here. I think it goes, yeah, it goes something like that. I think actually I should have took this bolt out. Doesn't matter. What you want to do is when you buy these, just make sure that it fits around the bolt so you can repair the wire. It's the biggest thing that you want to do. Alright, so what I did is I took this bolt out. I took the tiny bolt out and the big bolt out, so that your starter should look like this. There's your ground, your solenoid switch, and your main power. That way you're not under the car for longer than you have to be. So the first thing we're going to do is actually put the starter up and in, and put the 2 bolts in. So I would suggest starting with this bolt here, the one with the nut on it, because it's kind of more of a pain in the ass. So you can hold it with your left hand, screw it in with the socket with your right. Once you got it screwed in a decent amount, go ahead and put your other bolt in. And you want to tighten these even. Once they go snug, go left and right till you're fully tight. Once you get your 2 bolts in, make sure that you put your nut back on here on the top bolt. It goes on the through bolt, and put your bracket back on so you can clip your wire back in place. Otherwise it's going to hit the manifold and you're going to burn your wire. So when you're hooking up the wires, make sure you don't mix up this black one with this red one. The black goes to the ground of the bolt that runs through here. Put your red one on the tiny bolt, and then there's 3 wires. You have this small one, this bigger one, and the biggest one go on the big bolt. Tighten those all up, and then put your plastic back on, and you should be good to go. So we'll give it a test start after I tighten these bolts. Before you think you're done, it's good to put dielectric grease, or I didn't have dielectric grease, but I had anti-seize. Put it on the ground so it doesn't rust, and then you don't have connection. Alright, we hooked up the negative battery terminal, and we're going to give it a test start. If everything went well, should start right up. That's one start. Two starts. And 3 starts. That's how you replace your starter in a 2001 Cavalier. I hope you guys enjoyed this video and found it helpful. Please subscribe for more great videos.